In the meantime, House Republicans continue to probe the alleged cover-up of President Biden's mental decline by his administration, including the use of the auto pen. Today, longtime aide Annie Thomasinis, who served as the president's deputy chief of staff, spoke with investigators behind closed doors after being subpoenaed by the House Oversight Committee chairman, Representative James Comer, pleading the fifth to all questions regarding the president. That makes Tomasini the third former aide in the administration to plead the fifth during questionings of this probe, as both President Biden's physician and First Lady Jill Biden's senior aide invoked their rights earlier this month. But the investigation is far from being over. House Republicans are planning to still depose top names in the administration, including President Biden's press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, and his chief of staff, Jeff Zients. NewsNation's Tom Dempsey has been following this story all morning. Tom, what's the latest on Annie Thomasini's deposition?
Hey, Alex. Well, look, for the third time during this House Republican investigation, a member of former President Joe Biden's inner circle has pleaded the fifth, declining to answer any questions from House Republicans about things like President Joe Biden's health and his time while in office. Chairman James Comer, he's the Republican that's leading this investigation in the House Oversight Committee, and he actually posted to X shortly after this deposition wrapped up, saying, quote, "There is now a pattern of key Biden confidants seeking to shield themselves from criminal liability for this potential conspiracy." Cameras captured Annie Thomasinis, a longtime aide and close advisor to former President Biden, arriving and leaving the committee room earlier this morning. She was the third former member of the president's team to be subpoenaed for this investigation. But Chairman Comer described the questions asked during this deposition, including, did President Biden or a member of his family instruct Tomasini to lie about his health? The committee also asked about former President Biden's handling of classified documents as well, which later became the subject of a federal investigation, as well as the Biden family's business dealings. Comer saying with each of these questions, Tomasini pleaded the fifth. Comer went on to say it's apparent that they would rather hide key information to protect themselves and Joe Biden than be truthful with the American people about this historic scandal. And again, the timing of all this, Alex, this comes the same week that Anthony Bernal, who was the chief of staff for First Lady Jill Biden, he too appeared for a deposition here on Capitol Hill earlier this week. He too pleaded the fifth. So Republicans very much saying that they plan to press on with this investigation, but we will know too sort of the other side of this too, Alex, because House Democrats are describing this all as a giant waste of time. Alex?
Hey, Tom, what's next in the investigation into President Biden's mental fitness?
Yeah, so again, House Republicans really not, putting the brakes on this investigation. And NewsNation has confirmed of multiple transcribed interviews are going to be happening with key members of former President Biden's inner circle. Among those people, we're talking about, former White House press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. That also includes former chief of staff Ron Klain. He's going to be doing that interview sometime next week. We know former special assistant Ian Sams and former chief of staff Jeff Zients too. They too have additional interviews scheduled with the committee. But these follow a previous transcribed interview with Neera Tanden, the former director of domestic policy, and a closed-door deposition with President Biden's doctor last week, who pleaded the fifth in front of the committee. And if our viewers are wondering sort of what is this all about, House Republicans are putting out accusations that former President Biden had a sort of a cognitive decline and there was a major cover-up inside the White House. But again, House Democrats are pushing back and saying that this investigation is a big waste of time.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.